and thank you for joining me again. My name is Jared Christianson with the Jared's Not Funny podcast, and I'm joined today by one of my best friends in comedy, one of my favorite people in comedy, because let me tell you, whenever I say this guy has been instrumental in giving me opportunities to further my career, and he puts on one of the best festivals that Roanoke's ever seen, as far as comedy is concerned, you know what I mean? So his name is Johnny Camacho.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, man.
I'm super excited. So, first question, Roanoke Comedy Fest, right?
Right.
I know that, like, you know, anytime that you're running something like that, there's a lot of moving pieces. Do you feel like everything went according to plan?
Yeah. And, you know, in the 4 or 5 years we've done it, this is maybe the first year that I can actually say that with a straight face.
Yeah.
I had a great deal of support. We had some amazing sponsors who came through. No major hiccups with the talent or the venues, which is always a huge part of the calculus of putting something like this on. So, yeah, I mean, it really, by pretty much every metric, attendance, number of shows, tickets sold, it was the most successful one we've ever done.
Fantastic. I'd like to kind of take it to the all-ladies show.
Yes.
My goodness.
That was quite a to-do, wasn't it?
I'm telling you right now. I mean, I had to be there. I had to go and see it, and it was one of the best comedy shows I've ever attended.
Me too. And like I've got this personal, you know, history and biography and resume of like working at Caroline's on Broadway, doing improv at the Upright Citizens Brigade, and I got to say, pound for pound, the talent on that lineup.
Yeah.
And the fact that we had this, like, easily 90% women audience, packed out the spot on Kirk. We had this brunch buffet that went with it. Like, on paper, there was too much for it to go off that seamlessly. But it was one of the best shows I've ever been a part of as an audience member, as a producer. And a lot of that credit goes to Catherine Rogue, who kind of put together that lineup out of whole cloth and really understood which comics and acts were going to work there.
Yeah. And I felt like, I mean, just you had so many different styles of comedians, and all of them just seemed like they were top of their game for that show.
100%. Yeah. And it really was like, you know, there were one-line comedians, there was a musical comedian.
Oh, she killed.
All different ages and life experiences were represented. It was a perfect comedy showcase.
Absolutely. And that crowd was there to laugh.
Oh, man.
I mean, they were wild.
Yeah. It was like a rosé all day in there, you know. We had the mimosas going. We had the mini quiches, dude. Like, how can you be in a bad mood with a mini quiche around?
You can't.
No.
You can't. Especially, like, the entertainment was good. Fans killed it, like, because it does matter. Like, a crowd matters as far as, like, if you come to laugh or if you come to just sulk. And that crowd was not only primed to laugh, but, man, I mean, it made it so much fun.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
And everybody, all the comedians, the audience members, giving each other that energy. Because, you know, from, like, the open mics, you occasionally get a crowd that's just, like, electric.
Yes.
Like, we are here. We're with you. We want to support. And then, you know, you get these audiences that just stare at you with these cold, dead shark eyes for the entire time. You just know from the first word out of your mouth that these people are going to be almost impossible to win over. I've seen you do it.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen you do it. But typically, I don't know. I might be guilty of giving up on them a little too soon and just making the rest of the show passive-aggressive jabs at them.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's all right. You haven't sunk to that level.
I did last night.
Did you?
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
It was a tough crowd for me.
Where was that?
That was at the Coffee Pot.
The Coffee Pot.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was it was tough. But you know what? Like, sometimes, and I abandoned what I was going to do just because I was like, you know what I'm doing isn't working, you know, particularly well. So I just abandoned it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go hard. You know, I'm gonna go as hard as I can with the darkest humor that I have.
Yeah, and your softball makes a lot of people uncomfortable. So you opening up the gas on that, I can only imagine. Now, one thing that does surprise me though is I feel like you are a coffee pot comic, right? You look like you've got a couple Harleys.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess with the beard for sure.
Yeah.
I've never ridden a bike though.
No,
I've never been on one.
Wow, that's surprising, actually.
I don't know what it is. I think it, Rachel's talked about wanting to get a bike, and she's like, "Will you do it with me?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like I've been in too many car accidents to think to myself, if I was on a bike, I'd be dead. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know?
I tried the 2-wheel lifestyle for about 8 months. The thing got stolen a couple times. I flipped it over. I was just like, this is not conducive with self-preservation for me.
Yeah.
So I get you.
Yeah, I was made for a lot of things, but like I'm top heavy. I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should be on a bike.
So like this crowd, were they? Did you feel like they understood that it was comedy? Were you the only one who bombed, or were they just universally bad?
No. I think because with the other comics, I felt like they all did very well. I think I made the mistake of my attire. I had a Star Wars button-up shirt.
Okay.
And I had I wore shorts, which that's apparently a no.
Got it.
For a show. So
okay,
and that's okay. I get it. But to me, it's like whenever I go on stage, like if you're judging me by my appearance and not by what I'm bringing to the table, I'm not worried about that.
And if there's a dress code for comedy now, we're all fucked.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, we're not a sharp group of dressing people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't see anything wrong with shorts for a show. I don't know, but that's just me.
Shout out to Jordan B for roasting me. He did say he did ask me what GameStop was I managing that night. So and that's the biggest form of love to me is, and oh man, I got roasted all night by the comics, and I love that. Like that, truly.
Yeah.
If you're gonna take the time to say something to me and make a joke of me, that is comic love.
Yes, it is. Roasting is a truly singular and affectionate art among comics.
Yep.
From the outside looking in, it looks like we're going for the jugular with each other. It looks like we're intentionally trying to inflict emotional harm. However, once you get into the psyche of a comedian, you realize, no, that's just, you wanna lay an A+ roast joke on someone.
Absolutely.
And have them double over.
Yep.
And say, wow, even in my darkest moment, my internal monologue could not have hit me that hard.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah. And I've roasted comedians. I've been roasted by comedians, and I don't think I've ever been in a position where I've seen it taken the wrong way, because I think all of us come to comedy from the same perspective of we all do it. It's a positive thing, right? We're trying to inflict positive emotion on you. We're trying to get you to laugh.
Right. 100%. Yeah.
It's beautiful. So the ladies show for the Comedy Fest.
Right.
What else was? I know the Rich Voss show for him going. Were you assuming he was going to go 45 minutes?
His contract specified 45 to 60.
Okay.
And with Rich Voss, he was one of those guys where when I was like 13, that season of Last Comic Standing was on the air. I think that was season 1.
Yeah.
And he ended up being a finalist on there. And that was back when comedians all had like these Angel Fire personal websites with their personal emails listed. And so I was emailing all the people on the show from their personal websites. And I asked Rich Voss for an autograph. And about 3 weeks later, he had sent me one. It was in my mailbox. And so for years and years and years, I was an admirer of his comedy. And since we started the Comedy Fest, I had in mind that we should book him. And when we finally met face to face, I was like, man, I am such a big fan of yours. And he goes, fuck off. And I was like, okay, there's a symmetry.
Absolutely.
I think he meant it endearingly. But yeah, I mean, his contract said 45 to 60. Obviously, when you're paying for a headliner, going over is not as big of a problem as going under.
Sure.
Right? You don't want to pay the full headliner premium and get a 30-minute set when the floor was 45.
Yeah.
But in an environment like that where there was no show after his that we had to get audience members to,
mm-hmm.
I didn't mind him going over. I didn't expect him to do an hour 40.
I was going to ask you the official time.
At one point he looks over at me and he goes, "How much time have I done?" And I was like, an hour 20. And I expected him to wrap it up right there.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he just continued to mess with the crowd, go through his hits for another 20 minutes. And the thing was, I didn't get the sense that anybody in that room was chomping at the bit to leave.
Nope.
Like,
not at all.
He had their attention and he had their passion and their laughter the entire time.
Yep.
And, you know, it was, for me, that was also a highlight of the festival.
Yeah.
Just anytime you can do something at 5 points, that being such a beautiful room and a great group of people, that instantly elevates it for me. But the fact that it was Rich Voss and that he killed that hard just made it something special.
Yeah, yeah. And I will tell you, being a part of that show, like, you know, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And to be affiliated with something like that, you know what I mean? Like a year and 8 months in, like to me, I was literally like, this something that can actually go on the resume.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's tough to get booked for shows, but if you're getting booked for something like a heavyweight, like a Rich Voss, man, I mean, it meant
And there
the
was
world
such
to
a
me.
nice, I guess, synergy between you and then Lucy Benino.
Oh, she was great.
And then Rich, oh, she absolutely murdered.
Yeah.
And so it was just this steady build and different types of voices and styles. You know, that's most of making a good show. It's just understanding who's going to play well together.
For sure.
You can put 3 of the funniest people you've ever met on a bill, and it can be all wrong. Whereas you can put 1 really funny person, 2, you know, up and coming, sort of baseline level talent people on there, but they all work together so well it brings out the best in each.
Yeah.
So that's to me always the most important thing to nail down when making a lineup.
I can totally see that. For this year's Comedy Fest, like what was the most challenging part about it?
The most challenging part, I guess, is it's all the grunt work, you know? Like once you've got the rooms and you've got the talent, then it's like, I've got to make a website.
Right.
Let me get W-9s from people. And, you know, the bigger the festival, the more of those small little pieces you have to contend with.
Sure.
And so it's the administrative work, the stuff that has to be done, you know, figuring out how many tickets you've sold for tax purposes and making sure everybody gets the right tax form before the deadline. Like, that's the stuff that really, my brain, I have to force myself to do it. And because this was the biggest festival, there was the most of that I've ever had to deal with.
Gotcha.
So that was the biggest struggle. I mean, everything else is the kind of logistical and relationship type work that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
But it's the fucking paperwork, man. Every time.
Yeah. So do you consider yourself a host, an improv guy, or a comedian?
I've had seasons, you know.
Yeah.
I've had seasons. Like right now, you know, I'm at a point in my life because I'm in law school right now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to run this side business, and it's just I'm not at a place in my life where I can eat, sleep, and breathe comedy. Mm-hmm. For me, the right schedule is the open mic every couple of weeks,
Yeah.
and then a big festival once a year, and that's what's right for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've always enjoyed. I consider myself a far better improv comedian than a stand-up comedian. I have great respect for stand-up. I'm passable. I think I'm a very strong MC for a show.
Very.
So MC, improv, and then the production side is where I really hit my stride over time.
Gotcha.
I have zero ambitions of being an HBO hour special stand-up. I have zero ambitions of spending 250 days a year on the road. But I love the art, and I love being responsible for creating a canvas for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime I have somebody on here that has an amazing bit, right, without trying to give it away, I will say you have one of my favorite bits that you do on stage whenever you're hosting, whenever you talk about people who have died.
Oh yeah,
And then who you wish would have died. The way that you constructed that is one of those jokes where I know all the comedians are sitting back going, I wish I would have thought of that.
I'm glad I have at least one of those.
I mean,
because every comedian who comes to the lab has a bit where I'm like, damn it, I've been doing this for more than a decade, and that's just been hanging out there the whole time. But a lot of people watching this, might be comedy people. They may know what you're talking about. But yeah, I do like It's a twist on the award show in memoriam segment
Absolutely.
where you go through all the people who have died. And typically I'll play Angel by Sarah McLachlan. And instead of listing people who died, I'll list people who are still alive who I wish were dead. And it's just, that's refillable because there's always some topical person you can throw in there. But I do love that bit.
Oh, that's amazing.
I may have played it out a little too much over in the immediate area, but that's one that's in my back pocket anytime I travel or go somewhere else.
Yeah, I laugh every time you pull it out. You know what I mean? I always thought what a great spin on it, and it's something that everyone can relate to, especially whenever you're naming off names and we're all like, yes,
yeah,
like screw that guy or screw that lady.
Yeah, it's amazing how much hate Papa John has in this world. That's amazing to me, dude.
Doesn't Shaq own Papa John's now?
Does he?
I think so. Maybe. I don't know.
I know they had the Shaq-a-roni pizza for a while. I didn't know if that was just a licensing deal or...
If anyone's going to save Papa John's, it's going to be Shaq.
We should get him on Red Lobster next.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah,
Maybe.
They're closing down everywhere.
I know.
And I love their bisque.
And their new CEO is like, I know what we're going to do. We're gonna make the unlimited shrimp cheaper, and we're going to do $5 cocktails. And everyone's like, wasn't that what got you in trouble in the first place?
Yeah, we're going to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
No doubt. Blaze of glory type business strategy.
Absolutely.
Oh, I appreciate it. Oh.
So you're in law school.
Right.
How's that going?
That's going pretty well.
Yeah.
There's not a lot about it that dovetails with comedy. I keep looking for those angles. I keep looking for those cases or concepts that I can work into a bit. But a lot of it is so arcane. I don't know that it's ever going to make it into comedy. But it's just something I've wanted to do for a long time.
Yeah, I mean that's an undertaking.
Because for me, comedy has always been a way into social commentary.
Sure.
And criticism. And every time I'm looking at the event shaping the world, there's always comedians there talking about it, and there's always lawyers making a case.
Yeah.
And so those, being on the cultural and the sort of structural legal side of these issues, I feel, those are two vantage points that I was really interested in exploring.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, there's, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a good bit of improv as a lawyer because you're having to take the facts and make them digestible to a jury or to a judge or
right.
You know what I mean?
Yep. And to be reactive to questions that might catch you off guard.
Yeah.
That idea of playing to the top of your intelligence and bringing all the necessary facts and information with you to the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of opportunity, I think, to exercise the active listening and the thinking on your feet that improv kind of bestows you with.
Sure. But what kind of law are you going to be practicing?
I don't know. Probably like thinking like major corporations and hate groups.
Okay.
Yeah. They seem to pay pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
If I could get in with like Philip Morris and Liberty University, dude,
yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But no, I mean, that remains to be seen. I think I would like to do something involving like politics. Maybe consumer protection. Where people are actively getting screwed by big companies. What's a way we can get some compensation, and maybe nail these bastards to a wall. That kind of speaks to me. But it's ultimately going to come down to where my interests are drawn over the next 3 years and what the job opportunities are like, circa 2028.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a 4-year thing.
3 total.
3 total.
Yep. So I'll be graduating in May of 2028.
Okay.
If all goes well.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I don't commit any major, disciplinary actions or say the wrong thing on stage.
Is that a thing? Can you get canceled like as a lawyer if you continue to do the comedy thing?
I think you could. I think there would be a line you could cross where it may become like, because when you are studying law, you're not an officer of the court yet. You're not an officer of the law, but you are a representative of the institution that's teaching you.
Yeah. And
so there would be things I think that I could say on stage that would constitute an honor code violation.
Okay.
My humor never really goes that far down the track, though.
Yeah.
I I work blue. I say bad words, but there's nothing really hateful about my comedy.
Yeah.
I tend to punch up, not down. But, you know, I also am not a big believer that woke comedy is as big of a deal as people think it is.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
There's a lot of strong opinions about that, mostly coming from people who have large platforms, which is a very self-defeating argument. It's like, yes, Dave Chappelle, no one is listening to you. Okay, Jerry Seinfeld, yeah, you're not still selling out coliseums. Like, what are these people talking about?
Yeah.
I really don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's like, when does it become a problem? Like, how many people does it take to become a problem? Because you're never going to be liked by everybody.
No.
And that shouldn't be the goal.
No.
The goal should just be yourself, do your stick, and let the cards fall where they will.
And social media has really, I mean, maybe in the 80s, right? Where a handful of people, I'm talking like 6 or 7 individuals, had HBO television specials and the major comedy clubs on lock.
Yeah.
There was this very, very small group of gatekeepers, and their priority was locating people who appealed to the greatest number of audience members, right? But social media has allowed comics, not only in more diverse geographic areas, to find an audience, but it's allowed the audience itself to very carefully self-select.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
Yeah.
like, if, you know, it used to be if you only appealed to 5% of America, you were a non-starter.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can get those 5% of Americans on your TikTok channel, now you can sell out most places you go.
That's a fact.
And so, you know, it's the least important it's ever been that everybody likes you today. All you need to do is find your people.
Yeah.
And your people were not at the coffee pot.
They were not.
No.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
I mean, and that was, you know, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would have said a year ago that I'm very uncomfortable when people aren't laughing.
Right.
But honestly, last night, whenever I wasn't getting the laughter, right? Like, I'm giving you my jokes, I'm not getting back. It didn't bother me. It didn't upset me. It didn't make me feel like I'm doing something wrong. I was just like, hey, this is a great opportunity to, let's get dark. Let's go deeper.
Yeah.
You know, like if something hits, great. And it's not like I was getting stonewalled.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it wasn't eliciting a large reaction that I'm used to.
Right.
You know, there's a difference between, you know, there's a difference between like the coffee pot and, you know, 130 people at 5 points. How many was it?
Yeah,
At
like
least.
130, 150, something like that.
Yeah. So you can't really. That's the hardest thing to me about doing open mics. You know, is you show up with your jokes and it's like, let's say there's 8 to 10 people.
Right.
You can't really base whether or not your joke is good or not off of just 8 to 10 people's reaction.
Right. That's not a good sample for anything.
Yeah.
You know, but going back to like the idea that you've gotten comfortable in the moments of silence, right? Like
yeah.
one of the most liberating things that happens, and you can see the click that happens in comedians' brains. One of the most liberating parts of the journey is when you stop going on stage with this golden retriever mentality
Yeah.
of they need to like me. Mm-hmm. They need to like me. I am pinning my hopes, my dreams, my self-worth on this one group of strangers, thinking that this 5 minutes is good. And that's how most people get into comedy. And that's a powerful incentive to grow and to learn. But once you shed that, once you become comfortable enough to just live in the silence and acknowledge that you think it's funny,
Yeah.
you just become a better comedian and you become way more comfortable on stage.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, bombing is not a bad thing. Bombing sometimes is a growth experience. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is.
It just is what it is. Because if you're afraid to bomb, then you're never going to write new material.
Right.
Right?
I think Donald Rumsfeld said that one time. I think he was big on the idea that bombing is essential. He was crazy. But yeah, no, I mean, you have to look, I mean, and there are times where the audience genuinely is to blame. But what I realized is that I would say 8 times out of 10, if people aren't laughing, it's because my delivery was off, or I just need to rewrite whatever I said there.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to blame the audience. Sometimes you get a bunch of bastards staring at you. They're like, make me laugh, funny man.
Sure.
But, you know, they want to have a good time too.
Sure.
They didn't show up to make your life miserable.
Yeah.
And so giving them grace, giving yourself grace, just, you know, understanding that you both want the same things, even if it's not clicking into place, is such an important thing to learn. And it takes a lot of people years, but you seemed to develop an intuitive sense of that within months of getting on stage.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely felt like it was fast, and even with last night, I'll tell you, you know, while I didn't get what I was wanting out of the crowd, the comedians that did, I was watching very closely, taking mental notes of like, how did they do that? You know, how did they get that buy-in? You know, and a lot of it, honestly, I felt like was their energy too.
Yep.
You know, I mean, they had just, you know, Jordan B. When he gets on stage, he is a presence. Right.
Yes.
He gets on and he just flies at the hip.
Yeah.
And I'm not there yet. I'm not a good enough comedian to where I can just be like, you know, I'm just going to say, you know, I'm just going to get up there and kind of free verse some stuff. I'm not there yet. You know, I'm not that comfortable. I know my jokes well enough to where I know you know, if I have a set list, it's just one single word and I know all the words to like be able to go through my set. And it's not going to be the exact same every time. And that's okay.
Yep.
But I still need to make sure that I cover my bases on the joke, you know, because I've left out parts of jokes before and some of them still hit and some of them fell flat because I'm like, well, why did that fall flat? And I watch it back and I'm like, I didn't even say the middle part of the joke that sets up the end.
Yep.
You know,
and a couple of words can, comedy is ultimately about subverting expectations. You know, that's the core of it. Exaggeration, understatement, non sequitur, all of these things to kind of break the audience's anticipation of what they think you're going to say.
Yeah.
But a lot of it too is the way it hits people's ears. It's an auditory kind of art form.
Yeah.
And even a couple of words misplaced or dropped completely can change the flow of it in a way that doesn't communicate the punchline as effectively. And so there's this kind of, you know, harder to pin down. And you're an audio guy, right? There's a sound element to comedy.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed when I use certain types of voices, they get better reactions than others. I don't know what that is. I haven't figured it out yet.
Sure.
But it is something to be aware of.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like anytime I've recorded, you know, a rapper or, you know, an acoustic guitar player or something like that, there is a difference between just singing it or just rapping it as opposed to you're doing it with that feeling, you're making it believable and you're making it your own.
Yep.
You know, there's a massive difference. And I think a lot of that comes from confidence in yourself and in your jokes, right? Like as far as comedians go, like when you get up there, sometimes it works if you're not confident at all, right? But those people you sometimes want to root for if their stuff is good.
Right.
If their jokes are good and have hits.
Well, let's talk about, Heather Joyce at the Women's Show.
Yep.
She's an example of somebody whose persona is deeply insecure and unconfident, but she comes onto stage. Shout out Heather if you're watching this by some chance.
Yeah.
But Heather, you know, her whole persona is kind of mousy, insecure. What am I even doing here? But she comes on stage with these jokes that are so perfectly written and sharp. When she said, she's got this one where she's like, I'm so white, if I got the clap, it would be off beat. And I love that joke.
That's a great one.
That's an incredible joke. And all of her material is just so dialed in and so sharp. And so that's the subversion of expectation.
Yeah.
Her persona versus her material being as razor sharp as it is really catches people off guard.
Yeah.
And she brings out a mandolin, and it's just, if you, we need to have her back in town sometime soon.
100%. Yeah, she's the one with Spotify, like an album on Spotify, right?
Right.
Yeah, definitely check that out because that live was, it was. Did you ever see Stephen Lynch?
Oh yeah.
She was like the female Stephen Lynch, and she's a teacher.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
right.
she's a teacher, and to me that made it even funnier. You know, like. She got me. Once I left, I was a massive fan of her. I was a massive fan of all the ladies. I thought that, like I said, it was just a great show to be a part of.
Yep. And you know, for It really was. Every single person on that show crushed it. I thought of her just because of that template
Yep.
of kind of, if someone is insecure and unconfident and their material matches that,
Yep.
it becomes sad, right?
Yep.
Got to have one or the other. Whereas, I've also seen people who are extremely confident with no material, and that can also be funny.
True.
Like, I won't call out anyone for being that person, but we've seen it. We've seen it.
For certain.
Yeah.
For certain. Those two shows were there. What do you think was the biggest success of the Roanoke Comedy Fest? And I know that that's a tough one because it's kind of like saying what was your favorite kid,
Right.
But like if you had to say like the biggest success of the Roanoke Comedy Fest this year, you give the MVP award to this show.
I would say, for me, the way I would break that down is what was the size of the room and did we fill it? What was the audience reaction like, pound for pound, minute for minute? I think the Voss and the Women's Brunch show are very close.
Right.
But I think what made the women's show such a success is that it was an undeniable sellout. We could have gotten 50 more people into 5 Points.
Sure.
It didn't feel empty. That the room was incredible. The audience was electric. It was an incredible experience to perform on and to witness that show.
Yeah.
But the one thing that the Women's Brunch had going for it is that we literally had no more tickets to sell somebody. We could not have put another guest into that room. We had people standing on the sidewalk in case people didn't show up. So that was a hell of a way to, kind of start or kick off the end of the festival.
Yeah.
Because that was the first show on Sunday, and then we had Brandy Augustus, who's just a stone cold killer.
Yeah.
And she brought it too. But that final day, which is normally kind of the sleepier day of the festival, people are a little bit run ragged.
Yeah.
We really closed it out strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you heard it first here. The MVP of the Roanoke Comedy Fest, the Ladies Show. And
Right.
I can attest because I tell you right now, like I said, one of the most fun comedy shows I've ever been to, and the fact that it took place in my backyard made me very proud.
And part of me is pissed off that I had very little to do with it. I'm like, I have to concede that it was the best show, and it was the one that has the fewest Johnny Camacho fingerprints on it. Which, maybe next year I'll just step away. I just
No. I think that just means that you got a great team, right? Because Taylor's wife was a big part of that as far as getting the food. Taylor was taking pictures, right?
Yep. Taylor Reshka and Steph Reshka were, MVPs the entire time.
Yeah.
Taylor was instrumental in helping us wrangle sponsors. And all of the sponsors felt like they were well represented, which is a huge deal because you want them to come back and you want to get on their social calendar year over year. And it was his personal relationships and connections in town that allowed us to get those.
Yeah.
His wife, took tickets at pretty much every show. Was responsible for catering the brunch that was extremely popular and well received. And then Catherine Rogue, who was helping with booking, starting group chats, firing off the kind of procedural communications that needed to go out. I couldn't have done the festival as it existed without their help.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that you did previous work on festivals. Right. And you said this was the best one yet. I mean, is it comparable to the ones that you worked on in New York? You said you worked on them in New York too, right?
I can tell. Well, what I would say that the one in New York, the New York Comedy Festival, was a bigger budget.
Of course,
yeah,
of course.
Like we had Sarah Silverman at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, and I did some work on the Madison Square Garden show with Bruce Springsteen, so it was a different scale,
right?
And then working at Caroline's obviously brought in acts like J.B. Smoove, D.L. Hughley. We had Al Madrigal and Norm Macdonald before he passed away. So I've seen some really incredible shows, but I haven't felt the same kind of joy, even at the best of those, that I did watching this show that we had put together.
Yeah.
That the community that I have an active investment in showed up to support. That added a layer of joy that went beyond just the talent and the budget and the stakes involved.
Yeah, I mean, when you take the scale of New York
Right.
and the scale of Roanoke. It's almost kind of like, that can be divided and say that that was a success
Right.
because of what you have to work with.
Right.
Right. I mean, I don't see us as, I might be wrong. I hope that you do this one day. I don't see us ever getting into like the Coliseum of the Roanoke Civic Center, of the Berglund Center. That would be amazing. Maybe
would.
the Performing Arts Theater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I wish you all the success in the world. I hope that you continue to grow it, because I think that this year I felt the difference. Like last year was great. It was amazing. It was the first one I was a part of. But this year it was a love letter behind it. It was like there were more comedians showing up at all of the shows than I've ever seen.
Yeah. And it was great. Just the camaraderie is my favorite part of the entire weekend.
Yeah.
It really is an opportunity for all of us to get together, hang out, before, during, and after the shows. This whole little kind of pocket universe develops around the festival. And, it might not seem like anything special to people from the far outside looking in, but if you're part of it, it can be overwhelming. How supportive and how much people have grown to love the event.
Well, I hope that you keep the side shows in there too, because the side shows were one of my favorite part.
Yeah.
Doing the Dungeons and Dragons with comedians.
Yep.
I mean, that to me was a home run all the way. I mean, that was amazing.
Well, thank you, man.
And it gave everybody the opportunity to get on stage.
Right.
That's one thing that I really love about you, is that, man, you really took care of all the comedians, that have come out to the open mics and shown support, obviously, to what you do, but what you're doing is showing support to us by giving us an opportunity to do what we want to do.
And that's the whole point. I mean, the Roanoke Comedy Fest is it's kind of like, to some extent, you can think of it as like the big show. And then the open mics year round are the proving ground.
Yeah.
And the people who support the mics, who show up every 2 weeks, almost without fail. And there are people who are there every time we do this thing, they're there. And if they're not gonna be, they're almost apologetic about it. They're like, "I'm sorry, I can't be there this week." And I'm like, "Listen, it's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine." But supporting the local scene is part of the reason the Comedy Fest exists at all. Like, we could easily fill all of these spots with people from Richmond and Greensboro and Northern Virginia, but then it wouldn't be the Roanoke Comedy Festival.
All right.
I
Totally get that. Yeah. That's awesome. So, what do you see? Like, what do you see yourself in the next year or two? Like, what's any big plans as far as whether it's the Roanoke Comedy Fest? I know that you're trying to become a lawyer. Like, is there anything else that you see, like, in the future that you're working on?
I would like to. I feel like we haven't yet hit the ceiling for what the Roanoke Comedy Festival can be.
Okay.
Continuing that process of trying to increase the average size of the rooms that we're in for all shows over the weekend. We're never going to completely abandon, the 40, 50 seat, showcases and novelty shows, because those add a lot of heart and character to the schedule. But eventually, it can be very hard to break into rooms like the Jefferson Center.
Yeah.
And the Berglund Center, because it's this combination of they already have long-standing contracts with different performing arts organizations who basically from January 1st have blocked off most of the calendar year. So if you can get a date, it's usually on their terms, and the ticketing terms can be very, very disadvantageous to the producer. So they've kind of, a lot of these rooms that would allow us to reach that ceiling have terms and, reasonable gatekeeping standards that just make it hard for someone like me to break in there.
Gotcha.
Eventually, I would like to see Roanoke with more 500 to 1,000 seat rooms that are maybe a little bit more open to independent events. Because the Berglund Center, like, to their credit, they're not neglecting comedy.
Yeah, absolutely
They're
not.
bringing in all kinds of people, from Nate Bargatze, Jim Gaffigan, Brian Regan. They're really, like, they've seen the value in it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they're doing it. I don't, and it may be possible, in the future that we could just slap the Roanoke Comedy Fest name on something that they book and produce.
Sure.
I'd be happy with that too.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of conversations I want to have over the next year. Now that we've got the sponsors, can pitch in on the talent. Like, let's do a co-production with some of these bigger performing arts groups and venues in town.
Yeah. So walk me through this, though, as the business of comedy and run something like this. So as the producer, you kind of take all the risk, don't you? Like, you're setting up with the show. You have these ticketing terms. You have a price that you have to pay your comedians.
Right.
And if you don't sell enough tickets, then that's on you, because you still owe the money regardless of however many tickets you sell. Am I pretty on point there?
100%. Like, yeah, you've got the comedian, the headliner is an expense.
Yeah.
And, for the Roanoke Comedy Fest, a headliner can be anywhere from $250, depending on their status and the room they're playing, all the way up to $5,000.
Sure.
Right? And the higher that booking fee goes, the bigger the room you have to secure to put them in.
Yeah.
Because if you put a $5,000 act in a 150-seat room, then you've got to make the ticket so expensive that people get priced out of attending.
Yep.
If you put someone in too big of a room, then the room itself becomes a huge expense. There's a rental fee associated with that sort of space, and that just adds to the amount of money you need to make in order to break even. So, yeah, I mean, you have to strike this balance between finding the right comedian for the right room at the right ticket price in order to avoid losing your ass.
Yeah.
Like, last year, I lost thousands of dollars on the shows that happened I personally lost thousands of dollars on the shows that happened at the City Market Building, because they weren't super well promoted. With that sort of a room, you take on the entire responsibility of the promotion. Whereas when you do it at a place like 5 Points, you get their entire marketing engine behind you. And so we didn't connect with enough people to make that show break even.
Yeah.
And this year, the godsend, the thing that allowed us to be more fearless, was the sponsors. Because every single sponsorship dollar that comes into the festival is one less dollar you have to make to break even or to get ahead.
Yeah.
And so they allowed us breathing room, and they set us up for next year to take bigger chances early, because we're not having to be so conservative with our resources.
I love it.
Yep.
That makes sense. And shout out to the sponsors for this year.
Yes. Yes.
So one was the window company.
Yes, and that gave Rich Voss a lot of material. Yeah, we had Richmond Window. They were huge. The Spicy Rack Spice Company. Mm-hmm. They came through big time for us. I mean, we had Valley Star Credit Union, and I don't want to get into itemizing them because I will leave someone out. But look, we were on the poster at the show. We know.
Yeah,
you were there.
No, thanks to all the sponsors for supporting that.
Incredible group of people.
Yeah, and how hard is it to get sponsors to want to be part of like a comedy thing? You know,
well, if you're Taylor Reshka, apparently it's very easy.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm worst at in the world, and this might make me a shitty lawyer, is I hate asking for money. I'm just good at it.
You're going to have to get good at that.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to be the one in negotiation. Like, no, it's fine. 60% is.
It's all good.
Yeah, your ex can have the house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, personal question. I see your lady every single open mic.
Yeah.
Right? She seems like so supportive of you. And how long have y'all been together?
Gosh, I guess going on 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 years. Shout out to Olivia. Hello. Hi. She's great. It really is a kind of an exception and not the rule that she's not there. And I mean, she's become friends with all the comics too.
Oh, of course.
We all go out to CI afterwards, and we shoot pool, and she knows everybody, and she really has. embraced this part of my life in a way that, it's not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
Sitting at an open mic, especially every 2 weeks, it might get old for some people, but there's a certain type of person that just never gets tired of it.
I just know how much time goes into what you do as far as with the Comedy Fest and with the open mics and stuff. And, it takes a very special person to support you through that because a lot of time and energy, I'm sure, goes into that.
Yeah. Now I'm in law school, which, is this other huge, heavy lift in my life that requires me to just sort of buckle down and be on my own for a while. Just making sure I have the reading and I understand everything. And she's there through all of it. So it's
awesome.
Incredible. Yep.
Yeah. And she is a wonderful person, man.
Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you coming.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And y'all heard it here first. MVP of the Roanoke Comedy Fest was the Ladies Show. Excellent job, ladies. Yeah, man. Like I said, Johnny, thank you so much for coming and being a part of this. We will definitely do it again soon.
Yeah, I'm going to take one of these guitars with me on the way out.
Hey, absolutely, man.
All right,
Let's have a jam fest.
I appreciate it.
All right. Once again, my name's Jared Christianson with Jared's Not Funny. Johnny Camacho. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.